Hey MotoAmerica fans, this is Matthew Scholz. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage and also like or comment.
It's time for race 2 of round 7 of the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. From Wampum, Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh International Race Complex, it's MotoAmerica Superbikes at Pittsburgh. Welcome to Supersport, our second race for this category this weekend. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time champion. Now, Jason, it's race 14 of 18 on the season, which means it's time to start talking about championships.
Well, and the reason we're going to do that is because Sean Dillon Kelly yesterday talked about it for the first time. Talked about being in championship mode, still wanting to push, still wanting to do the job. But we've seen this guy win 9 races this year. Here's a little bit of video from him doing the double at Laguna. He would go on and do the double at Brainerd. He comes in here at Pittsburgh, rode amazing yesterday, put the pressure on Escalante all day. But he's in that mode now where he's going to get into battle, but he's going to pick his battles wisely because he's got a 56-point lead going into today's race. This guy has matured a lot this year, Greg, and shown that he's ready to make that next step.
And if you look at the way that this season is right now, 56 points like you just mentioned, Jason. So, you know, with those 5 rounds left, we're all starting to do the math. Okay, so where does he need to finish? How many points do we have left in the season to get, and how many does he need to clinch? And here's just one scenario of how it's all going to play out for Sean Dillon Kelly. Pretty incredible. But Sean Dillon Kelly on the M4XR Suzuki is teamed with the young Sam Lockhoff in his rookie season. And Hannah Lopa had a chance to go sit down and talk to Sam Lockhoff.
Greg, Sam Lockhoff is already making quite a name for himself in his debut season in our Supersport class with 3 podiums on the season. Let's talk about your race yesterday. You got up to speed really quickly.
Yeah, I thought this weekend was going to be one of those weekends where I kind of just have to get through it. But, yeah, I started 6th, got up to 3rd in the first corner, and I hold 3rd until the second last lap. So for 16 laps, I was in 3rd, and I fell back down to 6th, but luckily I caught back up to 5th and finished 5th. So I'm just going to try get something good for the race.
Looking ahead to the remainder of your very first season in this class, how do you plan to finish strong?
Yeah, like you said, it's still my first year, so finishing strong is just probably literally just finishing every race, and I'm not really putting a lot of pressure on myself. Obviously, a podium's nice, but wherever I finish this year, that's like I've already achieved my goal from the first race, so I'm happy with this year. I'm always trying to improve, but for next year I think we'll do some more.
Well, best of luck out there, Sam. Let's get over to Jamie.
Hannah, it had been a DNF and 5 consecutive second-place finishes for Richie Escalante, but after getting the win yesterday, there was a visible sigh of relief that we saw from you after you took the checkered flag. What has that done to your momentum now for the second race this weekend?
Yes, for sure. Yesterday I feel very good, after so many second places, last race crash. Today I think I'm improve my bike, a little bit I try to take a gap and win again. I have too much way off, so I'm pretty happy. So keep pushing, It's 5 races to go, so I hope to win the races.
Looking for another win is Richie Escalante, Greg.
Yeah, for Richie Escalante, it was quite a victory yesterday. Jason, here's what they have to contend with, the up and down roller coaster at Pitt Race.
Yeah, and you got to pick your spots here to make passes. Turn 1's a good spot, turn 3's a great spot. Going down to 4 and 5 gets a little tight, and you climb a big hill back up out through turn 6 into those S's. We saw guys like Rocco Landers yesterday making some great moves through 7 through, say, turn 12. All the way back through that turn 16, 17 area, 18, the last part of the lap, you can do some moves through there, although it gets a little bit tight on that run back to the finish line.
All right, Rocco Landers, he's also a rookie, and he's on a 2-podium streak. Can he keep it going?
That is the big question. Can Rocco Landers keep that going in that streak? I think Ben Smith's going to have something to say about it today. He didn't have the motor woes that we might have saw at the last round. I think Stefano Mesa might be another name on the Mesa 37, the 600cc rider and the stock 1000 rider. I think he probably had a little bad taste in his mouth after yesterday, finishing off that podium when he had a shot at it.
Yeah, and also Sam Lockhoff was riding great yesterday, been riding great all year. fast this weekend. Had a mistake. Not sure what happened the last couple laps. Or one of his lap times was pretty slow. Not sure if he got into it with somebody else or ran off. But he's another guy that has been a podium guy all year. And after yesterday's race, he just keeps getting stronger.
We keep seeing guys like Lockhoff. You also have Rocco Landers. You have Dominic Doyle is a rider that you mentioned earlier. These guys have raced together. Those three raced together in the juniors. Now they're on the Supersport bike. How are they going to have to approach this track differently than they did on the Tiddler bikes, the smaller ones?
It's going to be a lot more work for them, especially on these bikes, going over some of these rises out of turn 1. Out of turn 6, pretty much on the Junior Cup bike, you could be flat out, not really worrying about the bike wheeling or anything like that. Traction is always there on those bikes, so for these, it's a lot different. The turn 7 to turn 12 is going to be a lot more work on these bikes, being heavier. And for them, you got to think they have their own little battle within the race because they want to be the next person that moves up from Junior Cup in Supersport and do the best after they've been, racing so long in Junior Cup, battling it out.
There's the Barcon entry of Dominic Doyle. You saw the fist bump with Team Landers there as well. Yeah, you want to be that next big thing. You also see the 99 of Nate Minster on the road, the 88 of Ben Smith. Ben had been there, had a little bad luck. You see the 37. Hey, there's Becca. She's holding that umbrella, looking good out there, doing her part. She can hear me. I was like, you cannot be in that Mesa team without having a role to play. And I won't call her Wanda. I told her, I said, give me that name. And she's like, that could be the alter ego. That could be it. But I think Mesa might have a little something. And you talk about the young guys. He's not necessarily a spring chicken. He's not an old guy. He's got the experience, though, after running so long and so hard in the regional series where he was doing it week in and week out.
Yeah, he gets a lot of track time in between races doing all these club events. And also, really, Stefano last year made a huge step in his riding.
Yeah.
He's always been really fast, top 5 guy, but ever since last year, he's turned into a consistent podium guy, a guy that's in there for wins and stuff. So, this weekend, if he gets a good start, doesn't let those guys get away, he can be in the battle.
Definitely can. You see the 90 of Liam Grant in the background, but really, it's been 2 riders this year winning all the races, minus the one race at MotoAmerica that Stefano Mesa won. Sean Dillon Kelly on the 40, the M4 X-Star Suzuki, and that HVMC Honos Kawasaki of Richie Escalante. They're going to start side by side, and I promise, this says 16 laps, and they're going to go at it hammer and tong for 16 laps. But Ben Smith, he's looking to get back up on the podium. If he gets up there in that mix, maybe he can take advantage of maybe them having a bobble or something like that, because they're not going to go more than a yard apart.
And we've seen what happened at Road America. Took each other out.
Let's see if it happens once again. Send it over to Jason Graham. Get ready for the Super Sports. Next.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Pitt Race. There's an idea of how much elevation you have, and what's interesting is Jason Pridmore has done some laps around here, but so has Jamie Howe. Hi, Jamie. You got to do the old 2-up ride by Dunlop, didn't you?
I did. Chris Ulrich took me around this racetrack on Friday afternoon, and I have to tell you, I've been around racing for years and years and years, but being on the back of one of those super bikes, it gave me a whole new appreciation for what these riders do, and I think that was really my biggest takeaway. We did 2 laps, and I was sitting on the back. I wasn't even in control of anything, but I couldn't open up my fingers. I had so much arm pump going on, but it was exhilarating. If anybody's ever at one of these races, they do them for fans and spectators, for the media, of course, and you should definitely take advantage of that opportunity because it's unlike anything else in racing.
The money that actually is raised from that actually helps to keep riders safe, the Road Racing World Action Fund, and it supports airbag deployment here in MotoAmerica races. Look at the elevation change here. It's why we talk about the roller coaster. Jason, some of the riders have had difficulty going up and over that hill during the course of the weekend.
Yeah, that's the big steep downhill as they head down into the S's, Greg. And you got a chance to look here at the front row, first 2 rows anyways. We got SDK, Escalante, Smith, Rocco Landers, Mesa, and Lockhoff. So yesterday we didn't get to see why Sam went back a little bit with 2 to go, but he'll be back up there today. Dominic Doyle, Liam Grant, Nate Minster, Soltis, Thermiotis and LaRoche outside of row 4. Almedo, Miller, Trotti, Koski, Nassani, and Salazar. And then just a little bit further back, Zaragoza and Pentanud. And I'm sorry, Nick, if I'm getting that wrong, but that's going to be our grid for the day.
And we have a 16-lap affair ahead in Supersport race number 2. Your pole sitter, Sean Dillon Kelly, had a chance with his crew overnight to take a look at the race and really analyze what was going on between himself and this rider, Richie Escalante. We're expecting a dogfight. Not a lot of changes to Richie Escalante's machine overnight. Felt that it was a great Kawasaki. It's race 2 time for Supersport from Pitt Race. We're underway, and Sean Dillon Kelly with another solid launch, but wheel in the air for SDK. He'll hold on to the lead, peeling off into turn number 1. Escalante in second. Looks like M4X Star Suzuki's Sam Lockhoff in third.
Almedo maybe just ran off, Greg, and that grass is going to be soaking wet.
Oh, Kevin.
I didn't like the way that looked.
Yeah.
But look at it, it's really wet there. You can see he did get back on the track. And Escalante makes a big bid for the lead right off the bat. SDK fires back in the turns 3 and 4 area. So there you go, Greg. SDK still wants to control this race from the front.
What about Sam Lockhoff? For a moment, I thought he was going to try to make it a little wide. Goes Sean Dillon Kelly. So Richie Escalante to the point. Don't know if that was calculated or a mistake, because the question is, who wants the lead in this one? Oh, Sean Dillon Kelly thought about it for a second.
And now this is going to be interesting. Does SDK want to take the opportunity to follow Escalante around now like he was followed yesterday? Now, there was probably some changes made to both these motorcycles overnight, and I know you know a little bit more about that than I do, but the thing is that right now, the strategies at this track which play out are it's a little harder to pass here. The risk of the championship and those kind of things, will that be on SDK's mind?
And how about the 88 of Benjamin Smith? His whole goal when I spoke with him today was, I just want to try to stick with these guys for a couple laps and see how it sorts itself out. So the 88 of Benjamin Smith having a great run right now, keeping these two in sight as they go through the chicane, a very tight chicane.
Yeah, Benjamin Smith did a nice job there of getting through on Lockhoff, and he's now doing his best to chase these leaders down. Had a really frustrating Brainerd through really no fault of his own or the team. Every now and then you have one of those weekends where you have some bad luck, and that's what it was chalked up to talking to Benjamin earlier this week. So this race right now looks really solid for him. It's a place that he loves. And SDK steps it back up underneath Escalante as they go to turn 1. So my question has been answered. SDK is here to race today.
So Sean Dillon Kelly has had enough of watching Richie Escalante lead this one, and he does it in a way that moves Escalante out of the way. He kind of knew from the aggressive pass that he wasn't going to get passed back those initial 1 or 2 corners, but that's going to fire up Escalante. Oh, Benjamin Smith, man, is having a great run at it, Jay.
He is. He's doing his best. He wants to just stay with these guys. And, you know, like we've said it so many times this year, for a young rider to be able to see what the actual pace is and what it feels like, that will transition over to other racetracks once you get there. And if you have the confidence to chase these two guys around the way Benjamin Smith is doing at the moment, hopefully he can just stay there for as long as he, you know, for longer today than we've seen some of the other guys. Now, here's that pass. This is going to be set up all through that last corner too. SDK gets a really nice run out of there. He's able to kind of sneak up underneath as they get down into turn 1. That's a pretty wild place to pass. Look, Benjamin Smith, Greg, has closed up the distance even more now.
This is really playing into Benjamin Smith's hands. Jason, in the conversation I had with Smith, I asked him what was the plan for today in terms of like setup, and he was like, I'm looking for more rear grip. Like everybody's looking for more rear grip. And he says, no, I understand that, but because Benjamin Smith is a taller rider, he's probably one of the the biggest in the field. The whole idea was, I need a little bit more grip to get some drive because the only place I can attack is on the brakes. Hannah?
This is also a home race for Benjamin Smith. He grew up just about 6 hours from here. The state of Pennsylvania is pretty big, but that definitely inspires confidence. You know, he's got a pretty good amount of laps around this track. He feels comfortable and familiar with the layout. Like you said, you know, he is looking for more rear grip. He knows everybody's been struggling with that, but he just wants to be able to be close enough so that he can make some passes on his competitors if he feels like he is close enough. Ultimately, this weekend, he kept the setup within a smaller range than they had at Brainerd. As you mentioned, he had struggled there, so he's feeling a lot more comfortable overall. He wasn't really happy with yesterday's start. He wanted to try to hang with this front group and get to the podium, so I think he'll be pretty impressed with himself at the end of this race.
Well, he's going to be a lot happier when he sees +1 or +2 come up on his board. He just almost matched the fastest lap of the race that was just done that lap by Sean Dillon Kelly, 41.128 to Benjamin Smith's 44.168. So he actually closed that gap up to first and second a little bit on that lap. And I think that what he's got to try to do right now, keep his eye on those two guys in front. That's going to help pull him away from the battles behind him. And if these two guys start to engage, because I think Escalante is really hungry to try to win out the rest of the year. If these two guys get kind of engaged at all, it's going to bring that 88 right into it.
Yeah, the question becomes for Escalante, does he know that Benjamin Smith is this close? He'll know definitely when he goes by his pit board. He's going to get a plus symbol to say, hey, +0, +1. That might change the strategy of the number 1 as he's racing it up with the number 40. So a 3-rider breakaway, and then you have Sam Lockhoff back there with Stefano Mesa and Rocco Landers like we saw yesterday. There's the pit board for Sean Dillon Kelly, left part of your screen. So obviously indicating he's in position number 1 and that he's got someone right on his tailpipe and the amount of laps remaining after he comes by his pit board. Jamie, what do you have?
Was talking to Richie Escalante, and you know, he sat behind Sean Dillon Kelly for over 14 laps yesterday, and he said what he really learned was that Sean was just so much better under brakings, especially in turn 1 and turn 3, and that's where we saw Sean able to make that pass on him here in this race today as well, and that was something that Richie was focusing on. They've made some front end adjustments, trying to give him more confidence under braking. He felt pretty good after morning warm-up, but he's still sitting behind Sean here, and when Sean was behind Richie for that 1 lap yesterday that decided the race, he said, you know, I need to clean up the end of my second sector. He felt like he made those changes this morning and felt pretty confident coming into the race.
And you know, Jason, that really plays to MotoAmerica's strategy of having 2 races in one weekend, as Escalante looked like he might have a bid. You know, the ability to get that immediate feedback overnight and then watch it play out, it really helps the development of these riders. I think it speeds up the development of these riders.
There's no question, because then they can go to their crew, and if their crew had any questions during the course of the race and they're making notes down there on the pit wall, they can go back and talk to the rider about what happened here, what did you feel there, where can we make the bike better here. So a lot of that stuff is so beneficial. I'm really noticing right now that Benjamin is super good through the second sector of the track. He's able to close back up on them. He loses a little bit of time through sector number 1, and he loses a little bit of time through sector number 3. So you can see right now he's drawn up on the back of our 2 leaders at the moment, but then they get, and look how good SDK is through that chicane. Really fast, pulls that gap. Now, in years past, Greg, this is one part of the track I didn't get to this weekend. The Suzuki goes all the way back to first gear here in years past, and so it gives SDK that little bit extra jump out of that corner, and that's what makes him so competitive even at the end of the straightaway. He goes through those gears, gets behind in Escalante's draft, and was able to pull out in the turn 1 like we saw earlier. So looking at the times, these guys are all 44.4, 44.2. The guys behind them, 44.8 to mid-45s. So they're still getting away ever so slightly. So we'll see how this goes, but Benjamin Smith that time was the quickest of the 3 riders.
If you're new to Supersport Racing, these are motorcycles you can buy off the showroom floor. So Sean Dillon Kelly on that M4 XR Suzuki, that's the GSX-R 600. The Kawasaki behind him is the ZX-6R and the Yamaha R6. And so when Jason talks about Suzuki being able to come off the corner in first gear, that all starts with the transmissions that they run, which are stock, the same ones that you have on your motorcycle if one of these is parked in your garage. So it's all about that gearing. Changing sprockets is what we have that can adjust those, the ability to drive out of the corners and get the gear shifter just right in each corner.
Get the drive that you need. So one of the things that Greg and I did yesterday when we got done watching this race and everything was done, we looked at our timing and scoring screens and we noticed such a huge gap between the first 2. And we said, if these 2 are gone, who's going to step up? And I think today we've got that answer. Benjamin Smith has stepped up today. He's running the exact same lap times as these 2 guys in front, and he has shown that he is able to go the same pace. So the changes that they have made overnight to his bike and some of the stuff that they probably watched overnight has really made a big difference for this team.
Yeah, but the thing with Benjamin Smith, too, is, you know, Benjamin Smith, he qualified at a 44.7. His fastest lap has been a 44.1. This is where they're going to get into uncharted territory in terms of the length of the adjustment they made, meaning they only had a 15-minute warm-up this morning, and so we're kind of in that 15-minute window right now. So the changes that his team, Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing team, was able to make to his Yamaha R6, is it going to last the distance? We know that Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante have the pace, they have the setup to go the distance. So now we're in that kind of uncharted territory for the rider in third place.
And I think that if you look just behind them, Lockhoff has done a nice job to just kind of keep that gap just under 3 seconds. He goes a 44.5 that last time, did the 44 there coming into your screen. So when you start to pay attention to these three guys, don't forget about Lockhoff back there. He's always shown really nice pace throughout the course of the race. So he's going to be keeping an eye on these guys. He's done a nice job so far.
And I think Sam Lockhoff is going to be frustrated to be so much further back than these front three. When I spoke to him just before the race, he said, you know, if I can have a good start, I think I have the pace that I can stay up there with SDK and Richie Escalante. He certainly wasn't expecting Ben Smith to be that far ahead of him. He knew that once he got into his rhythm that he was going to have this speed, and they've made some changes to make sure that it lasts all 16 laps. So he might be a little frustrated at the end of this one.
And it's true, he could be a little bit frustrated, but the thing is he did get that start. He was up to third originally, and this is where, again, when you're learning and you're trying to get better, those first couple laps, that pace, that's something that is experienced. You have to experience getting up to pace quicker. We hear this talk about a lot with our superbike riders and how quick Gagne gets out in front and puts those first 3 or 4 laps and hammers down. That's stuff that, you know, this is Lockhoff's first year on these bikes, and I think he's done an incredible job. He's going to go back and talk to his coach, PJ Jacobson, and talk a little bit more about how can we get better in this part of the track or this part of the race. And because right now he's just keeping that gap kind of the same.
So M4 Star Suzuki Sean Dylan Kelly continues to lead the way from Honos HVMC Racing's Richie Escalante and the 88 of Benjamin Smith on the Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing Yamaha. A battle of manufacturers and a battle of riders from different parts of the world, different ages. Sean Dylan Kelly with all the pressure on him again. And Jay, you know what? The thing that's interesting about Sean Dylan Kelly is with the repass to take the lead, it just seems mentally that Sean's like, I enjoy the pressure. This is the transition. Like, I'm really enjoying the pressure. Go ahead and put it on me, Richie. Let's see what you got and see if you can maintain the pace.
Well, we talk about championship, but there's definitely something to be said about learning how to control pressure in all kinds of environments. And inevitably, this is a possible championship year for SDK, so these are new kind of pressures that he's going to have to learn and how to feel. As he grows and gets better into his career, more advanced into his career, you can see Escalante having a look here. These are the kind of pressures he'll be able to reflect back on and say, hey, I'm able to lead these races from the beginning. I can handle the pressure of knowing that there's a championship on the line and still be able to set the pace.
Benjamin Smith really closes up on these two, Jason, as they go through Sector 1 and working Sector number 2. We can see it visibly on the screen. We can also see it on the split times. But it's really when we get to Sector 3, this kind of section here, where Benjamin Smith seems to lose a little bit too much for him to make a big move on the riders.
Some of that even is going into that chicane. The chicane is so one-lined and so hard to see that if you're 1 or even 2, 3 riders back, it's so hard to see that first curbing. And you got to make sure to make it through there every single lap. So you can see both Escalante and Benjamin Smith both fall back about the same distance between the 3 of them as they go through that chicane. And then they kind of are able to close that distance back up as they go. So that lap by, everybody's still in the 44s, but they aren't the fastest guy in the 44s. Number 44 is Sam Lockhoff. We're looking right now, I believe, at Thermiotis. He's crashed in turn 18, 17 here. So he's up and okay. He's just trying to pick his bike up.
It's a shame for Thermiotis. He was rolling around in 8th place at the time when he fell down.
Both Lockhoff and Landers behind these 3 were just marginally, just fractionally faster than the lead 3. So you can see that gap that Greg was talking about just now. That they've gone through Sector 1 here. They're getting ready to complete Sector 1. All through this next sector is where the number 88 really seems to pull up. So whatever changes they've made, the grip part, Greg, that you talked about earlier, that's where this is so key. Now, we've seen Escalante a couple times out of this right-hander try to do something into the next left. And you see he's kind of got right through there. Both these guys do short shifts up probably the 3rd gear there, I would assume it is. And Benjamin's just trying to get back up there. Hannah, what do you got?
Well, despite the young age for this front group here, these 3, they're not lacking in talent or championships. Benjamin Smith was the 2017 KTMRC Cup champ. He's got 60 starts in the Supersport class. Richie is, of course, a defending champ from last year with 76 career starts. SDK is currently leading our points, 47 career starts. We've seen him in Red Bull Rookies Cup. He made his Moto2 debut in Valencia. He's also the youngest ever Daytona 200 pole setter. So this race is going to be tough, but so strong for all 3 of them to just continue to push each other for all of these reasons. Jamie, what do you got?
Well, Hannah, another thing that's pushing right now are those Dunlop tires. And if you look at the selections that Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante made, it's exactly the same as yesterday, and it played out better for Richie Escalante. He chose a harder front compound than what Sean Dillon Kelly is racing with, and he felt like that it really helped him get to the end of that race and make that pass with just a lap and a half to go. He said, you know, I tried the tire that Sean Dillon Kelly is racing on in the warm-up, and I can do the lap time, but you're on edge the whole time. It's just not a sustainable speed. So he's hoping that that plays out for him now as we're in the second half of this race.
And that really plays down to riding style. And Jason, I also think just the motorcycle itself and how it's designed, being that these are street-based motorcycles, and just trying to find that combo that works for you. And even riders on different motorcycles. Now, as Jason, we can see that the 88 of Benjamin Smith is starting to drop off as Sean Dillon Kelly just set the fastest Sector 1 split, trying to break away from Escalante. But now Sam Lockhoff is on a charge, Jay, and he's got a couple tenths of a second on Benjamin Smith. So Benjamin Smith has put the work in early, but it doesn't mean that a podium's wrapped up with 8 laps remaining in this race.
And he's kept those 3 leaders in view, has Lockhoff, as we look at our 2 leaders again. But what this does to Lockhoff, when he starts to see a separation between the first 2 guys in third, that's going to give him a lot of motivation to keep putting these laps in, keep grinding these next 6 laps out, especially to try to get to the back of the number 88 with at least 2 laps to go so he can try to do something. Both Lockhoff and Landers, who's just behind Sam here, he's about 2 seconds back, but they've both been quicker than the 3 guys at the front. There you go. There's a look at Rocco now. Finished third yesterday. Today, he's gone 44.4. He went 44.6 his last lap by. So he's operating right in and around the best time he's done of the race. And he can see all the leaders ahead of him, but it might be a little bit harder for Rocco at this point to bridge that gap all the way up to that podium spot.
Just setting the fastest lap of the race and answering Sean Dillon Kelly's is Richie Escalante. So SDK had gone by the stripe at a 44 flat. Keep in mind, 43.5 was where SDK qualified. But of course, that was on a fresh tire and yesterday. So 44 flat, 0.057. Escalante goes 144.031, setting the fastest lap of the race on lap number 9. So Escalante has a bike that when Sean Dillon Kelly is pushing, Escalante can answer, at least so far.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the thing that's just really impressed me is just how good that M4 bike looks. It just doesn't ever seem to put a wheel out of place. SDK's got full control over this bike, and in speaking with him, I said, the bike to me, I asked him, I said, the bike to me looks like you just have so much confidence in it, like you can do anything you want with it, put it anywhere you want. And he says, Jay, it's really become that for me. He said, he works so hard with the crew, and they've really given him a motorcycle that he has a lot of confidence to push. You can see Escalante gain ever so slightly through that kink. And here you go, Lockhoff now has Benjamin Smith firmly in his gun sights. And the last couple laps by, 45.3 last lap for Benjamin Smith to a 44.7 for Lockhoff. And you can see Rocco now probably a little inspired by this also, seeing these 2 guys getting a little bit closer together. He's going to try to put on a charge as well.
I like the race that Sam Lockhoff behind him is running. He's gone very quick. Benjamin Smith, a 44.1 is his fastest lap, and Sam Lockhoff a 44.3, but it's now the consistency that Lockhoff has been able to come up with. Jay, and that's the thing that's so impressive with the M4 X-Star Suzuki team. This GSXR 600 has been around quite a while. They've developed the motorcycle for many years. As, say, compared to the number 1 plate, this is only 2nd year of development for the Honos HVMC Racing team, and they continue, as they told me today, to find different things with the chassis. And now a pass has been made. The 44 of Lockhoff goes around Benjamin Smith, so Lockhoff now in the 3rd position, the final spot on the podium. We'll see if Benjamin Smith has an answer now that Lockhoff's gotten around him.
Well, Lockhoff's still circulating, as is Rocco. They're both still in the 44s. In fact, they're not that much slower than the 2 leaders that you see here that are starting to fire. Looks like Escalante's trying to get ready to fire some shots here. But 44.4 for the 2 leaders, 44.7, 44.6 for Rocco and Lockhoff. So they have definitely kind of stayed kind of the same as these 2, even though there's a big gap. All this gap was built up at the beginning, and now we know Benjamin might have been a little hard on that rear tire to try to run that pace with these guys, even though there was a big improvement overnight for him. Here you go. Escalante having a look here, not quite close enough. We saw him make that pass there yesterday, but now that race for 3rd is going to start to heat up as well.
You see Escalante backing off a little bit, talking to riders, the difficulty of seeing where the exit of that chicane is when you're behind someone. Need to give yourself a little bit of room. Rocco Landers now starting to chase down Benjamin Smith. What a run he had early on. This is really heartbreaking for the Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing team to watch the outright speed of Benjamin Smith. He can hang with the front two riders. It's just a matter of getting that setup correct. And now he's falling into the clutches of Rocco Landers, who dispatched of Stefano Mesa, who's back in sixth quite a while ago.
It's a sustainability of being able to run that pace lap after lap and not necessarily take care of the tires, because these guys are running hard. The problem is that you've got to be able to come up with a setup that's not going to abuse the tire the way you want to use it as far as your riding style and the speed and pace that you want to go. So you can see these two guys a little bit. They're about 4 seconds out in front of Lockhoff, who's got himself about just, what's he got, Greg? Almost a second over Benjamin Smith. That last lap through.
Here's the move.
There you go.
The pass for the lead. You can see him setting it up. So Richie Escalante back to the front. Our fourth pass of the race. And now Escalante, for some reason, I think he said, all right, I got it. I'm going to try to push the issue right now. Maybe for Sean Dillon Kelly, he dipped back to the 45-1 range. Escalante still feels like he's got maybe some high 44s or even mid 44s in him.
Well, I think for Escalante, when you take a shot at somebody, especially as good as Sean Dillon Kelly is, you kind of only get one shot in those particular places. So you know, he took that shot down there, but you can see how comfortable SDK is even through the chicane. You see how that gap doesn't really open up between Escalante and SDK as it was when the roles were reversed here. So SDK is going to try to stay as close as he can. The drive out of here for Escalante looks really good, so I don't think that SDK will be close enough to do something down in turn one. I'm sure Escalante will start to think about that as they get ready to go up over the top of this hill, but that lap through, 44-2, and SDK ends up going 44-5. Rocco Landers in the back had gotten by Benjamin Smith as well. He's firmly in the 44s also, so he's not that far behind Lockhoff. But our main attention right now is this battle at the front and where SDK might decide to make this move.
Richie Escalante looking in total control, and the battle for third way back there up the hill. So they've broken away by about 5.5 seconds. Up and up towards the S section for Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly. Now, Jason, there might be some gamesmanship in this, you think, in terms of, you know, after watching that video? I mean, I was actually a little bit surprised after talking to Jeremy Toy that Sean Dillon Kelly decided he wanted to lead as many laps as he has.
Well, the thing is that I don't know how much gamemanship these guys can have between the two of each other. Look at Rocco Landers. He has come all the way back just and done a really nice job as he's looking up underneath Lockhoff as they go into turn 12. Back to the Escalante SDK point is that they know each other so well. I don't know how much more they can actually do with each other on the racetrack. They've passed and repassed each other a million times in the last couple of years. So gamemanship, I don't know how much that's going to be. It's going to be Escalante just wanting to win out the season and trusting the fact that I think that SDK is not going to make anything too crazy as far as moves go late in the race. Rocco Landers has a look again up underneath. But I tell you, Rocco's pace this race has really been impressive. He's, like I said, Greg, 44.4 was his quickest. I've watched and looked up here a bunch of 44.6s as the guys at the front now, 43.5 and 43.6 for the two guys up in the very front.
Escalante, fastest lap of the race, 43.550. Just a tick off of what Sean Dillon Kelly qualified at. Unbelievable pace. Trying to put some daylight between himself and the number 40.
Kind of makes you think, though, that SDK just was controlling this pace, the pace he wanted to go. But look, he's got another gear if he needs it. Because, I mean, they literally just dropped half a second with 3 to go. So it shows that they've both been able to have enough tire underneath them. And SDK is more than capable of running into the 43s.
And again, one of the easiest things to see with Richie Escalante is when he starts to force the issue, when he starts to get aggressive with the motorcycle, we can really see it. It's one of the things that's the best about motorcycle road racing is watching as Rocco Landers has gotten around Sam Lockhoff. So Landers now into third. Boy, he was so far back. So many laps to go, and Landers is just chipping away at it. Love what I'm seeing from the 3-time champ.
I love it. Yeah, and I mean, obviously he's getting more comfortable. And let's be fair, the leaders are 7.6 up the road, and they're running 43s now. But these guys haven't let them completely. They're still going to be able to see them at the end of some of these straightaways. So that's a bonus for these two guys specifically. You can see Rocco has a look over his shoulder to see if he's pulled away from Lockhoff at all. And I know Sam, though, he's going to be grinding it out, trying to get into the back here of Rocco Landers and try to get close enough to him with 2 to go this next time by.
Information for Rocco Landers is he's going to be coming by the start-finish line soon. His pit board giving him that information. So out front, Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly still lead as they come across the stripe. The battle we're watching now 8.9 seconds behind for Landers, and then Sam Lockhoff with Benjamin Smith, Mesa, Dominic Doyle, Liam Grant, Salazar, and Soltis, your top 10. With a surprise weekend for Kevin Almeida back there in 11th place.
Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. Let's get back right up here to these leaders. 43s again, mid-43s for our 2 leaders. So it's just going to be a matter of, I got to be thinking in my head that Sean Dillon Kelly is got a spot that he probably has picked out. And I also got to be thinking that he's probably not going to do something too crazy here unless he really feels confident that he can make a nice, smooth, clean pass. He doesn't need to jeopardize all the hard work and stuff he's put in for the year. But look how good he is through this part of the track, Greg.
Yeah, Sean Dillon Kelly absolutely ripping. Escalante starting to get the Kawasaki a little sideways, as is his riding style. And I'm sure that his crew looks at that and says, okay, all right, we got enough tire underneath us. I mean, the fact that on lap 13, these riders set the fastest lap of the race. The fact that Richie Escalante just set the fastest outright split of this race in sector number 1 2 sectors ago is absolutely incredible.
I think if this happens at all, it's going to happen in this last corner. I've seen Sean Dillon Kelly go up underneath Bobby Fong there a couple of years ago to get his second race win. And if you remember, he did the double that year. He's extremely fast through the chicane. So if he can get a good run through the chicane and get just up close enough, you might see him dart to the apex in that last corner, Greg, and make a last-ditched effort to try to win this race. I also think that that's the place where there's least likely for something bad to happen. You look here, Escalante guards going up into turn number 3, close that door off to where Sean Dillon Kelly couldn't get by. Now it's going to be the next spot will be heading down into the S's into turn 7. As they come up over the top of this hill, we'll see if Escalante moves over to the right to guard from that spot. The one place it'll be interesting to see if Escalante remembers that pass that SDK put on Bobby Fong 2 years ago as well.
Final lap, half a lap to go. Escalante protecting that inside line. You can see when he came up over the top of the hill, he was already a little bit towards the inside. What does Sean Dillon Kelly have? He's so fast through this section of the track. And we also know there's the big move. So SDK up the inside to take the spot. Very calculated. We could see it coming from a couple laps ago. Does Escalante? Oh, Escalante lost the front, but he saved it.
So cleanly done, though, by SDK. He just made a direct line right to that turn 11 area. Now, we'll see if Escalante has anything. This is going to be really hard for Richie to get by SDK in this section because you see that little gap? That gap is going to be too much to close down in this last corner.
Has Sean Dillon Kelly done enough to grab his 10th of the season? Through the final set of corners, it's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. Escalante trying to get close enough, but there's a couple bike lengths. Here we go to the line, and it's going to be the Suzuki for victory of Sean Dillon Kelly. What a race as we await the arrival of Rocco Landers. The Landers Racing Yamaha R6 will take third ahead of Sam Lockhoff. Yeah, I think at this point,
unreal.
You can say he's the
nice
man.
Work. Yep. Unreal work there. I mean,
racecraft.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's knowing where you're good at, and he was absolutely flying through turn 10, and that's what set that pass up. And he was able to slide up underneath him going there into turn 11.
There's your race pace, and of course, a nice congratulations between these two as they wave to the fans here at Pitt Race. What a final lap, the final race of Supersport here in MotoAmerica competition for 2021. Jason?
You can see here, see how tight he is to him, Greg. And the second that Escalante opens up that gap, just to open up the radius of turn 11, STK doesn't need a second invite and goes right through it and is able to keep that speed up. As you look at the M4 guys down in the paddock, they're going to be really happy with their guy with that move.
And Jason, I know you said the door was open, 100%. I get that.
Yeah.
But it looked like Sean Dillon Kelly was going there no matter what.
Yeah,
he was committed. He was committed. His momentum took him there. It was awesome. Can't wait to hear what Sean Dillon Kelly has to say about how he played this race, because in our view, it was perfect.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden here with you, and it looks like Sean's been working on those stand-up wheelies, and that was a stand-up performance altogether. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're Richie Escalante, if he would have guarded that inside, Sean would have been there on the outside, and he gave him a little bit too much space that time, Roger.
Yeah, but, Escalante did a good job that last lap blocking, but, Sean Dillon Kelly just set up that pass really early and was fully committed and made it happen. But we've seen these guys do that. I mean, they pass each other that close, but what a great race by both of them.
The thing is, with Richie taking over the lead right then, you could tell that Richie was trying to gap Sean. He was trying to pull away and do kind of like what he was doing at Brainerd until he went down, on his own. But he was trying to get away from Sean. Sean said, no, you're not going to pull me this time. Sean was kind of given a little bit at Brainerd when, it looked like he was almost going to have to settle for second, and then Richie went down. This time, he didn't want to let Richie have that advantage.
No, he wasn't settling for second today, and you can just, with the points lead he has, he can kind of take that chance, and now comes back, only 4 races left. This weekend was a wash. So now, the pressure's really off still moving forward. But Sean rode a great race, stepped up at the end, and these two always put on a heck of a show.
When your line, Michael Hill was in there watching it with us. He said, the championship is still there, boys. And we're like, it's on life support right now. I think we've got him on the oxygen. It's getting closer. What are we down? Four races left, right?
Yeah, it's getting close to the end. And what about this guy?
Yeah.
I talked about it yesterday. What he needs to do is start getting his gap to start looking at his gap to the podium guys, get it shorter. Yesterday he was 3rd place, 20 seconds back. Today, 10 seconds back. He cut that in half. If he can, that's why I'm so hard on him all the time about his starts, because he's got that pace. He needs to get with these guys early.
I couldn't disagree. I couldn't agree more with you. I was looking at the lap times. Even that last time, still running in the 44s, and he shows he has that pace. Sean and Richie, about a half a second on the other guys when it's outright speed. And Sean had a little something outright speed at the very, very end.
But maybe if Rocco can go with them and follow them.
Pick up some of their stuff.
That's what he needs to do. Go get with those two and go to school and just figure out what they're doing. Maybe it's lines. Maybe they're picking up the bike before him. Maybe they're carrying more corner speed.
Yeah.
In practice, a lot of these guys – don't let you follow him, so he doesn't get to see. Well, in the race, they don't have a choice. That's why I'm always trying to tell him, you got to get a good start and get behind those two and just learn.
Ben Smith kind of tagged along for a while, but it might have been to his detriment. It looks like he kind of dropped off there. Might have abused that tire or rear tire a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It looked like just lost rear grip. His pace really slowed down the last couple laps. I don't know if his tire ran out of grip or if he had another issue. But beginning of that race, Benjamin Smith was looking really good.
The most aggressive fans in the country there. The CFA group. I think that might be the same guys we see at New Jersey.
They are. It's the same crew.
Yeah, those are the wing nuts I've seen in New Jersey. Oh my gosh. They're a fun group to be around. We're glad they're here. Sean Dillon Kelly keeps on keeping on and getting ever so close to that Supersport Championship he wants so bad. Let's send him back next door.
Today's Supersport coverage has been sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Well, that certainly was a heart pounder, 64 thousandths of a second, the margin of victory in this race. Take a look at the Geico save, Jason, because I believe
Kevin Olmedo
Kevin Olmedo, I mean, he just gets off in the wet grass, and it's that last throttle application.
Yeah,
I was like, where are you going?
Right now as a rider, you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to get it upright, and then it just kind of snaps around on you a little bit. But it's wet, too, from last night. So
yeah, so he finished 9th, so good job by Kevin Olmedo to recover on that one, as opposed to this guy right here. What a result. What a well-played race, showing everybody at 19 years old what racecraft means. And if you were curious to find out what 64 thousandths of a second looks like, that's it. Rocco Landers just ahead of Sam Lockhoff. Benjamin Smith, what a great start, but 5th place for him. I'm okay with it. I guarantee you he is not. Mesa, Doyle, Liam Grant, and of course, we talked about Kevin Olmedo back there in 9th place. Moving on through the field, Jason, I mean, we had a couple great races going on. Obviously, the SDK Escalante thing, as well as the Landers Lockhoff Benjamin Smith bit. But right now, it's all about this winner, Sean Dillon Kelly, who played it to perfection.
Well, Greg, for Sean Dillon Kelly, the victory tally has moved into the double digits, 10 victories on the season. Sean, that was an incredibly difficult race. Richie was putting pressure on you all race long. What gave you the confidence to make such a bold pass on that last lap?
Man, the confidence, honestly, was just the feeling I had with the bike today was absolutely amazing. Huge thank you to my whole M4XR Suzuki team. All my guys, Jeremy, Chino, Cole, John and Chris, Brian, all my guys over there for working so hard, man. Like, I just felt so good with my bike. I definitely struggled with some grip at the end, but I think I just played smarter. You know, yesterday I didn't win, and then I wasn't going to let that happen today. So there it was. You know, you can clearly see that I definitely had a different game plan, and it worked out to what I would consider perfection today. So very proud of the work. It worked out really well. Richie had a really good pace the last few laps. But yeah, I mean, we did what we had to do. Really proud of the work. Huge thank you to my team, my family, everyone here, everyone watching back at home. I love you all. Thanks to all the fans. Thank you, Fresh and Lean, for keeping me strong. Arai, and just everyone for making this happen. We're on our way to the ultimate goal, and today was an important step again. So we're going to keep on fighting until we reach it.
Congratulations, Sean, and let's get over to Jamie, who's with our second place finisher.
Hanover and Richie Escalante pulled the bike into the podium area. He gave a shake of the head, walked around the bike. You took a look at what you had left. What could you have done any differently today?
Yeah, for sure, a very difficult race. I'm start a little bit better, so I tried to pass in the first lap, and then, okay, I say it's possible maybe lead the race and win today. Then Sean very aggressive in the first laps. And then just waiting every lap. I see Rocco very close too, so I just slow the pace a little, then Sean take a little bit gap, and then I push to recover the gap, and then finally take the gap with Rocco, so that relaxed me a little bit to keep pushing. And yeah, you know, the last laps, I push so 100%. I see my Pittsburgh Pro Zero, I say, what? You know, I 43s, and yeah, you know, the last laps, I tried to close the door after that corner, and you know, he passed me in the corner when me start to close. And yeah, I'm very happy thanks to Honors Racing, Hudson Valley, Grace Kawasaki, all my team, all my family, all my sponsors. I'm really happy. So 2 more rounds, 4 races more. So I give you 100%. It's time to back home and recovery and training hard.
He's going back to Mexico to get ready. Richie Escalante is 8th, second place finish, Hannah.
For Rocco Landers, Jamie, a pair of third place finishes on the weekend. Rocco, I know you were hoping to get a better start to stay closer to Richie and to SDK, but let's talk about your battle for third. How were you able to kind of make your way forward for this podium once again?
Yeah, to my friend Raj up there, I got an okay start, but I ran off over in turn 2 there over the hill, lost some time, tried to group myself back up. I wasn't really going that fast. It wasn't going as fast as I knew I could. But we made some changes. My dad, my Landers Racing team, Cameron Jones, CJR, my crew chief Will Eikenberry, Barry Russell with KFG Motorsports and Olin's. We worked pretty hard last night. I knew we had a bike to put on the podium. I was hoping to get closer to them. I think I could have if I hadn't run off there, but I mean, it was hard because once I could see Sam up there, but when I was trying to catch up, like, it's really easy to make a mistake when you're trying to catch someone, and I kept like running a little wide in 1 and 3. And when Ben was falling back, I was like, oh, this might be a podium. And with like 3 to go, I looked like Sam's tires were starting to go, so I just laid the pressure down and started going, and they couldn't know without my team. And HJC and Mythos, California Street Bike School, my nutritionist, James Toohey, and everyone else who helps me.
A great weekend for Rocco Landers, guys.
Great job by Rocco. And that's how you play it. Got to be heads up on the racetrack to see what your competition is doing. We'll have more on the other side of this one from Pitt Race.
Terrific there by Sean Kelly, who launches himself into the fans once again. We're getting ready then for our podium.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden back here with you. And boy, Roger, I think he's listening. I mean, he was actually making sure to point out to you, saying, hey, I got a decent start. It was a pretty good start.
He was already setting up his excuse. But he did great, man. He rode awesome. And just the reason why I'm always telling him about his starts is just because it's so important. As you go up through the ranks, it's more important every single class that you move up to get a good start, especially when you're learning not to let those top 2 guys get away. His best lap time was only half a second off to Escalante's, and you have to think if he would have got behind him and learned, he could have maybe found the half a second or at least a couple tenths. So, I'm just kind of always joking with him, but it's like a half joke. You're definitely trying to really kind of get the point across.
One of the best starters I've seen since coming here was one of your buddies, JD Beach, and you said it and you've done it. All those starts that he does on the the dirt tracks really play a key. I see Rocco riding a lot on the motocross tracks. I don't see him necessarily doing that many starts, but
growing up, we had a light.
Yeah.
And we practiced every time we rode dirt bikes, JD, and all of us, just because we knew how important starts were. So we had a light, and XR 100s or whatever dirt bike, even 450s, we just always tried to, it's about timing really, and just always worked on it.
Got that a Nicky Hayden replica helmet, fresh and lean colors across the face, and another win, double-digit victories now for Sean Dillon Kelly and that M4 X-Star Suzuki team. Got a couple more minutes before we send it back to the guys next door, and we keep seeing this ever so close. There's only 4 races left. He can get fifths all day long and still win this championship, but he wants those wins. Now, what's next for Sean Dillon Kelly? Because there's rumors around there, and we want to develop the riders here in the U.S. to race on the world stage. What could be next for Sean Dillon Kelly? That's the next big question.
I think next is definitely to move out of Supersport and onto Superbike, or also Moto 2 even possibly. I know, Sean's not made it a secret that he wants to go to Europe.
Yeah.
And he's been like that his whole career. He's never even, there's never been no doubt. He's always wanting to go to Moto 2, so I really think he's trying to find a ride overseas, and when you're winning like this, it's going to help. And he knows it's going to be difficult, but he does the work, and he's fully committed.
Well, that's his trainer he's talking to right there that he does a lot of stuff with. I see him in the mornings, and I saw him on Friday doing the stretches. He's got the roller ball there, and I said, how long do you usually stretch before it? He says an hour. How many guys do you really see that put in that? They say they stretch and they work out, but literally are working on doing all that work to prepare yourself for actually going to job.
And it's always, I tell you all the time, it's just the little things that add up.
Yeah.
Things like that, especially at this level, and you see it pays off.
You're exactly right. The diet, and we joked, and he said, all right, I might be able to have a cupcake. He was talking with Michael during his Mike on the mic segment. Might have a cupcake after the race. He definitely deserves a cupcake here. But Sean Dillon Kelly takes the win, and give her another strong run by Richie Escalante and Rocco Landers. Back-to-back podiums as well here at Pittsburgh. We'll send to the guys next door.
Back at Pittsburgh International Race Complex here in Wampum, Pennsylvania, as Sean Dillon Kelly gets to celebrate for the 10th time top step of the podium this season. And Jason, one of the untold stories of this race has to be Sean Dillon Kelly saying, well, my tires were a little worn out at the end of the race, but according to what I see, a 143.428 on lap 15 of 16, fastest lap of the race for Sean Dillon Kelly while he was chasing down Richie Escalante. That is impressive for those Dunlop tires.
There's no question, and they're going to feel a little bit used up if you're going that fast with 2 to go, and it was a full half second than they went yesterday. The thing I'd like to point out is Rocco Landers today. I thought he did an incredible job of managing his race after he said he ran off the track. He did a string of mid-44s. More importantly, this race was quicker than the one we had yesterday, and he halved the gap. Yesterday he was 20 seconds back and on the podium. Today he was only 10. So this is going to be a big confidence boost for him and the whole number 97 team.
Let's take a look at highlights from the race today because it was entertaining. If you like racing, this is something to watch.
Well, the thing that we're used to seeing is the number 40 jumping out front. He did that again today. Escalante took an immediate shot into turn 3, only to have that fired right back at him as they went down into turn 4. You can see Lockhoff got off to a good start as well. Benjamin Smith, though, sneaks up underneath him here, and he would take off after these two leaders. The 88 would show a lot of pace for the first half of this race. But these two started to do what they do, Greg. They started to get away, and then this battle for third started to develop between Lockhoff and Benjamin Smith while Rocco Landers was still recovering from running off the track. Escalante slides up underneath SDK in turn 7. Lockhoff and now Landers had displaced Benjamin Smith. Now their battle for third was on. As we started to get down to the closing laps here, Rocco looked like he was going to try to pull away from Lockhoff, but Sam's done a good job this year of keeping that close. But on the last lap, number 40 planned to move into the turn 11 area, and he was able to hold that gap to get his 10th win of the year.
Unbelievable for Sean Dillon Kelly. He is marching towards this championship with only 4 races remaining in the 2021 season. Let's see just how far it is. 61 points. So obviously the 5 points lost yesterday to Richie Escalante. He gains them back. So it's a net of 0, but nonetheless, there's only 100 points available left in the season. And right now, Sean Dillon Kelly has 61 advantage over Escalante. And how about that battle between Lockhoff and Landers? That's getting pretty tight to finish, to feel who's going to be third in this championship by season's end. What happens to Sean Dillon Kelly next year? What happens to Richie Escalante? Are they going to hand the torch over to Rocco Landers and Sam Lockhoff for the 2022 season? There's still a couple races left in this one, but today's race was spectacular. For Hannah Lopa, Jamie Howe, and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back in action September 10th through the 12th from New Jersey Motorsports Park. We'll see you then.
Kelly, Richie Escalante, and Rocco Landers, 3 manufacturers.